By show of hands, who here knows someone who suffers from the disease of epilepsy? Awesome. I'm here to educate you on the causes of and statistics pertaining to epilepsy and the effects it has on an individual as well as society. Epilepsy is a disease that most people today are aware of but have no clue as to what it does. Epilepsy is defined by the New York Times as a brain disorder involving repeated spontaneous seizures of any type caused by uncontrolled electrical discharges from nerve cells in the cerebral cortex. This is where the PowerPoint is coming. Either being directly inherited by a family member or due to severe head trauma, epilepsy today affects 65 million people worldwide, according to the Epilepsy Foundation and Epilepsy.com. Professor Simon D. Shavrin stated that epileptic seizures can be caused by either a predisposing cause or an exciting cause. An acute cause, that he said, may be bleeding in the brain, a brain tumor, or even some type of genetic factor, whereas a remote cause may consist of, but not be limited to, head trauma or even lack of oxygen. As documented by Epilepsy.com, 2.8 million Americans today currently suffer from this disease. As statistically proven by Epilepsy.com, each year 125 to 150,000 Americans are diagnosed with the disease each year, 30% of which are children. They also state that epilepsy today affects more Americans than multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and Parkinson's disease combined. It's not there, I have to show you. This disease can be caused by numerous factors, both internally and externally, as I've said, and affects both those who suffer and the people in their immediate environment. Living with epilepsy is a challenge on life itself, where patients, as well as friends and family, all learn to adhere to the changes this produces and sometimes the consequences of this disease as well. As MedicineNet.com proclaims, epilepsy sometimes comes with restrictions to various things in life that we take for granted on a daily reprieve. Most states, even the District of Columbia, restrict people with epilepsy unless documented that they have gone a specific amount of time without a seizure from driving and even partaking in recreational activities, such as skydiving, motorsports, swimming, and even sailing, just to name a few. Dr. David Bloom's research gets more in-depth and describes the personal effects of this disease and how it plays a role on the people involved. Dr. Bloom's research has found that some patients with repeated epileptic seizures may develop chronic changes in their personality, better known as Gershwin syndrome. Some patients also develop personality changes, including loss of spontaneity, hyposexuality, stickiness, which refers to a tendency to focus overbearingly on a simple topic or an inability to terminate a conversation. Also, hypergraphia and an excessive concern for broad moral implications of daily events. Epilepsy.com posted on their website that in 30% of patients, seizures cannot be controlled with treatment, and that any uncontrolled seizures may lead to brain damage and death. Today, including my mother and my sister, up to 50,000 Americans die from seizures and related causes each year, bringing the mortality rate among people with epilepsy to 2 to 3 times higher than the general population. To review, epilepsy is a disease that, through my own personal experiences, is something that can be life-changing and in some cases life-ending. Those who suffer from this disease are nothing more than average people with what I consider glitches in their biological construct. Thus, in retrospect to the disease of epilepsy, which is typically viewed, I hope that more members of society grow to understand the difficulties one faces and how to adhere to the alterations necessary to be of service when needed. And with the bracelets I gave you all, hopefully you are now all aware and of support to those who have and suffer from the disease of epilepsy.